Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Robert Meyer Burnett.
It's great to be here.
Jonathan Voico.
Okay, hey, everybody.
The new voice of Proxima Midnight, Chris Carr.
Hello, everybody.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, well, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, theory, opinion, question, or topic you'd like us to address, as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on the show, go ahead and fire it on into our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. And here's the good news. The tip link is actually good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you happen to be listening to our podcast on our podcast feed, say either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app of choice, or if you're watching this video a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question anytime you'd like. And if you send one in when we're not live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, you know what? I wasn't going to do this.
Uh-oh.
But I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Just because I'm kind of excited about it. I really shouldn't.
He's going to show everybody he's not wearing pants.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold the glory. No. So you guys know I'm always telling you, completely ignore anytime you see a report about test screenings, because it's almost always a lie. Right? The people who see test screenings have to sign NDAs out the wazoo. They are literally putting their futures at stake just to say something on Reddit. So ignore, unless it's coming from a studio source or something. Okay? And that applies, by the way, to what I'm about to tell you. But it's just because I'm excited about it, I want to say it. So I actually got contacted last night from somebody I know.
But you trust him.
I trust him. Who works in the theatrical industry, let's say, in the movie biz, who said that there was indeed, very recently, a test screening of Thunderbolts. I'm going to put out this caveat. This friend of mine, let's just say, they're kind of connected to the film in a way. So there could be some bias here. There could be bias. That's why I'm saying, take everything I'm going to say with a giant grain of salt. All right. I'm telling you that. But this person did tell me and confirm that there was very recently a test screening of Thunderbolts. And they said, and their quote was, it scored off the charts. Nice. They said it scored off the charts with the audience they showed it to. Now, again, I want to make sure you understand there could be some bias and whatever of what this person is telling me. I do trust this person, but they're human. So don't get too excited about that. Maybe we'll see it and we'll think the movie sucks. I'm just saying they're pretty closely connected and they said it kind of scored off the charts. Now, you guys know, listen, I'll be honest with you. I get told this kind of stuff all the time, but I don't bring it up on the show. I completely admit my enthusiasm bias here because I am excited about Thunderbolts. So you know how we are as fans. I'm no different. We hear what we want to hear. You know, we all do that. I'm no different, but I did get kind of excited about hearing that. Rob, you know have you heard anything regarding Thunderbolts or anything like that yet? I mean, we've seen a lot of stuff, but have you heard anything?
You know what?
Yourself?
I've only ever heard that it's good. And I've been hearing that from people that I trust since last summer at Comic-Con. Mm-hmm. There's somebody I know who works for Marvel in a certain capacity and actually told me that the Wonder Man TV series and Thunderbolts were very good. And I didn't solicit that opinion. You know, I didn't say, "Hey, tell me, what do you think?" It was offered. And so I'm excited. I mean, look, the idea of bringing back Ben Kingsley and making it like a buddy cop.
For Wonder Man, you mean?
Yeah, for Wonder Man. I'm like that. I don't know why more people aren't talking about that. I just think it's hilarious. But yeah, I've only ever heard it's good. I mean, everything I've seen with Thunderbolts looks good.
Oh, I've loved everything I've seen.
You know, doesn't it look good?
It looks great.
Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me that it's at least a lot of fun and that it would... Look, you know what I find strange, John? For 23 movies of the Infinity Saga, I was on pins and needles to see every one of them. it never occurred to me, even the ones that, look, can you say that The Incredible Hulk wasn't great? That was early MCU. Was Thor the Dark World not awesome? Sure. I was like Iron Man too. But I still was excited. And I don't like the fact that I'm not as excited anymore.
We're in a period right now. This is a great point. Unlike during the Infinity War saga, we're in a period now where we have to get excited about an upcoming MCU. And that wasn't the case for like 12, 13 years.
I mean, it's a lifestyle choice. I honestly believe that fandom is making a choice. I am making a lifestyle choice to be excited. Look, as a James Bond fan, I've been excited for every James Bond movie, even though I've been frequently disappointed. I even had a girlfriend once that said, why do you get so excited for every James Bond movie when you know half of them disappointed you? And I said, because it's a choice, man.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
Chris,
I'm excited.
I'm curious, just because you obviously are in certain circle. Have you heard anything yet definitively about how the Thunderbolts have turned out or anything like that?
I have one person who is going to see all of it, and I am waiting to talk to them about it. And I can't say more, or I will put their job in jeopardy.
Got it. Yep. That's often a precarious place we're always in. Anyway, guys, I normally don't talk about all the stuff I get told, but I'm biased. I'm excited for Thunderbolts, so I wanted to share.
I am too.
I wanted to share what I had heard.
Pumped.
All right, guys.
I want all the hot toys, man.
No,
so do I.
we've limited you on.
Yes,
hot
you
toys,
said you've
so-
stopped. You said you've cut yourself off.
I know, but you know those Flash hot
You
toys.
gotta
Those
say-
4 Flash hot toys are
Are you
dope.
thinking of doing like a one in, one out rule? Like you have to part ways with one to make room for another?
Ooh,
This is a
That's a
selfish
horrible
Just
idea.
sell one to
Why
buy
did you
another
put that on in the universe?
because I'm a selfish person and I've bought Logan used hot toys because your girl is poor. So
Well,
the idea
then we
of
can
to
talk.
get a new one, yeah,
I
you've
would,
gotta
for you, I
sell
would just
one.
give you. Is there something he wants?
Okay,
many.
we need to
Okay.
move on. We need to keep going here. All right, guys.
Trying to
Let's
wheel and deal.
get our official stories kicked
Yes.
off with this. Now, of course, you guys know the other week, Chair Watch happened, where for 5 hours there was a slow, mind-numbingly painful, just slow pan of chairs with
It
names on
was
them.
genius.
250 million people
So
watched.
genius, which of
Exactly.
course they would have watched it if a dog shit out the names of people. But regardless, it was a really, getting that list, regardless of how they gave it to us,
Yeah.
was really fascinating and interesting. But did you know that as we were finding out who was going to be in Doomsday, the stars of Doomsday were also finding out?
Like they didn't even know they were signed.
They didn't even know who else was in the movie.
Yeah.
Now, we find this out through an interview with Shang-Chi himself, good Canadian kid Simu Liu, who recently was on the Jennifer Hudson show and was doing an interview. They talked about it. And Simu Liu basically said, I didn't know who was going to be in the movie until that event. This is what happened. Simu Liu said this. This comes to us from Comic Book Movie, who wrote, what I will say is this. I knew I was going to be involved in it to some capacity, but I didn't know who else they were announcing, Liu continued. They don't tell us anything. Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo ruined it for all of us. Now they don't tell us. The actor added, I saw when Sir Alan McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart were announced. These are two of the greatest actors to have ever walked the face of the earth. That blew my mind.
Oh,
So a star of Avengers. Oh, thank you, Upside Dan, who just sent in a $9 or $10 super chat badge. Thank you, Upside. A star of the Avengers literally didn't know who else was going to be in the movie. Now, we've been hearing over the past couple of years more and more, Marvel has been tightening up on stuff a lot. Like, one of the actors even said not too recently, I never actually read a script until the day I showed up on set.
Crazy.
Like, they're really tightening it up. But I never would have imagined that there would literally be actors in the movie who didn't know who else was in the movie. To me, that's kind of wild. Anyway, Chris, you hear Simu talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Is this Marvel being overly paranoid? Do you think this is the norm now? I mean, how do actors not call each other and say, hey, are you going to be in this next movie? Or do they have to not answer the
because
question?
Kevin Feige's going to blow dart them if that
Yeah.
happens, John. He's got a laser locked on every single one of these actors now. I think this is probably our new normal after just kind of the speculation and the reveals that we had with the last big kind of tentpole Marvel moments, those big crossover events of, is this person in this? Does this person die? What happens? Tom Holland having the worst time trying to keep things to himself. And
Was it him who said when being interviewed? Was it Holland who said when being interviewed for Infinity War said, like, oh, it's absolutely bonkers. Everybody dies. Well, I mean, not everybody dies. And
Yeah.
like one of these cast members,
I
kinda
believe
looked at
it's either Don Cheadle or Benedict Cumberbatch who's like, no, why? It's so great to watch the two of them on that
Jeez.
It's
media
hilarious.
tour as well. Don Cheadle is constantly just like, what is wrong with all of you? And it's Benedict Cumberbatch being like, oh, no, let's stop. So I feel like after that, a lot of these actors are now just being kept in the dark for as long as possible. I also just think this is a really wholesome kind of interaction too of just, can you believe I'm in a movie with these guys?
Yeah.
Like, you are the lead in a Marvel film. I love that he just has that kind of admiration, and rightly so, for these incredible actors. But I feel like moving forward, we're probably going to be a little bit more cloak and dagger and a little bit closer to the vest for all of our Marvel announcements.
But I mean, you mentioned the wholesomeness of, but when you really think about Simu Liu, like now we think of him, he's a star of a Marvel film, right? His only big claim to fame, just a couple of years ago, his only big claim to fame was being one of the stars of this, at the time, little viewed outside of Canada, little Canadian sitcom show called Kim's Convenience, which is absolutely one of the best shows you could possibly watch. Watch it. It's amazing.
I
But-
will die for Appa.
Oh, I now he's in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So you got all these guys coming. But so, I mean, that show is incredible. But I mean, now, even when he had his own Marvel movie, okay, Ben Kingsley's in it. That's amazing. But now he's looking down at this list. I'm going to be in a movie with Robert Downey Jr. I'm going to be in a movie with Chris Hemsworth. I'm going to be in a movie with Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
And-
like, that's got to be amazing.
A movie he pitched himself for. A movie
Yes.
that he long game pitched himself for of, hey, Marvel, why don't you just talk to me? I think I'd be good for this. Shoot your shot, everybody. That's the moral of this story.
Rob, we're here now that even the actors were finding out as Chair Watch was going on who was actually going to be in the movie with them. Is this Marvel going too far? Does it kind of fit? I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it's exactly what they kind of have to do. You know, they can't, because look, these actors aren't aware. Like, they don't even know how their characters relate. Like, I would love to talk to Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. Like, how many times has Patrick Stewart died in the X-Men movies? And he's died. Patrick Stewart has died in 2 different studios movies playing the same character. So he died in Multiverse of Madness, and he died in Logan.
Yeah.
Oh,
he-
and Dark
he
Phoenix.
He
died
died in that other X-Men. I
X-Men movie
think.
too. So in
what
Dark
was the
Phoenix.
Last Stand? Didn't he die
Yeah.
in Last
Well,
Stand
not Dark
too?
Phoenix, but yeah. Last Stand.
Yeah, Dan. So it's like,
He's Kenny from South Park.
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
man.
but isn't that wild? So he's like, I would just assume that these actors, like, are you going to die in this movie, buddy? Are you going to finally get a decent death scene?
Won't we all be shocked if he lives?
I mean, I don't. How are they going to do that?
Now, none of us believe there's any chance that Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are going to be Charles Xavier Magneto moving forward
No.
in the MCU, right?
No,
No. Okay.
no, they're going to whatever battle world, whatever confluence of events happens. But it's, I bet they will die again. They should die together. They should have an epic scene where they're fighting together.
Listen, if you understand Secret Wars and you understand the mechanic of the story, if you thought a lot of people died in Infinity War, hold on to your butts, because there could be a lot of people dying. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Simu Liu is saying, I didn't even know who else was going to be in Avengers Doomsday until Chairwatch. Like, that's how we found out. They're not telling us this stuff anymore. Does that kind of track? Are you surprised to hear it? Are you not surprised to hear it? Is Marvel being too paranoid, or do you think that's just the way they got to be now? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of Avengers Infinity War, one of the really cool characters, well, of course, were the children of Thanos. One of them, maybe even most dominantly, was Proxima Midnight, who kind of set up that amazing scene when she throws her spear and Captain America catches it and steps out of the shadows. One of the greatest moments in the MCU history. Well, the voice of Proxima Midnight was done by an actress by the name of Carrie Coon, who I believe is in White Lotus.
Yes, she is.
And she was also the mom in the 2 most recent Ghostbusters movies. And she was the voice there. But did you know she was not Proxima Midnight in Avengers Endgame? And because of a pay dispute. Apparently, her husband was being interviewed and kind of gave the story. Now, when they first announced that she wasn't coming back to be in Endgame, they cited schedule conflicts. Okay? Well, apparently that wasn't the case, because this comes to us from The Independent, who wrote this. This is Carrie Coon's husband talking. Speaking in a recent episode of The Ringers, The Big Picture podcast, Letts said that Marvel didn't offer Coon a higher fee for the follow-up film, which is why she said no. I believe Marvel went to her for the second one, that's Avengers Endgame, and they asked her to be in the second one, said Letts. And she said, well, the first one is the most successful movie ever made. Are you going to pay me any more money? And they said, no, we're not going to pay you any more money. She said, wow, you're not going to pay me any more money, then I don't think I'm going to do it. Letts continued. And they said, well, you should feel yourself fortunate to be part of the Marvel Universe, so she declined. In 2020, Coon previously said she had declined the part due to a scheduling conflict. All right. So, I want to point out that her not being in Endgame didn't seem to hurt anything. And I would pose that most people didn't even know that wasn't her, again, in the second one. I'm feeling a little torn on this. And Chris, you're going to have a better connection to this and an understanding of the bigger picture of this because you work in that world. For me as an outsider, to a degree, I look at that. Now, I don't know how much she got paid for Infinity War. She's not in a lot of it. So I don't know whether it was a lot or a little. But it's not like they went to her and said, we want you to be in the second one, but we're going to cut your salary in half. They offered to pay her the same amount that she did in the first one. I think Proxima might even be in less of the second one than she was in the first.
Probably more so because of this, but yeah.
Yeah.
And they offered to pay her the same amount of money to be in it. And she said no. A couple things come to mind, which is, number one, that kind of shows you that, did it hurt them at all to just switch up gears? I think there was another performer, too, who was in the Infinity War that got swapped out in the second one. It might have been another one of the children of Thanos. I can't remember.
Potentially.
But I don't know. And I'm always caught with this, Chris, and I know this puts me at odds with a lot of my friends in the creative community, which is the notion that if the movie makes more, you should get more. I've always had a struggle with that, because nobody ever says if the movie flops, I'll give some of the money back. Like it seems to, everybody wants it to be a one-way street. And now I think she was perfectly fine to say, yeah, I don't want to do the second one. I think that's fine if she doesn't want to do it, because I got to imagine maybe it was timing and convenience, scheduling conflicts, whatever. Maybe she had the option to do other things that are more interesting to her. But I thought it was interesting to say, I'm not going to do it because you won't give me more, especially when it doesn't look like there was that much done in it. But you are the most authoritative voice in this room to speak on something like this. How did you interpret the comments? Do you think it's weird that she didn't take it? Do you think she was justified not to take it? Do you think Marvel was justified not to offer more? I don't know. How do you see it?
I mean, this is another moment of shoot your shot, right? You are part of the most successful film. Yeah, give me more money for it. Why would you not? Let's negotiate about it. And then I think it is more of a discussion, not just a, you're not going to, well, what if we do this? I'm wondering if this is a very simplified version of what actually happened for the sake of a podcast.
You're probably
blurb,
right.
But my thought would be her and her team would go back and forth with Disney. And if it was a constant, no, we're not giving you more. No, we're not giving you more. I can understand walking away on principle, especially because she is an actress who, well, she might not be a household name to most people yet. She's for sure getting an Emmy nomination for White Lotus. She was great in The Leftovers on HBO. Like, she's an incredible actress.
Incredible. She was
She's
Ben Affleck's
wonderful.
sister in Gone Girl, Joe
Yes.
DeBar.
Oh,
She's
that's
incredible in
right.
Gone Girl.
Yes.
She's wonderful.
I have a major crush on Carrie Coon, and
you
Tracy Letts,
should.
her husband, is not only one of the great character actors, like he was the head of Ford and Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah.
But he also wrote the plays that the Friedkin's movies Bug and Killer Joe were based on. He wrote those plays.
Yeah,
I mean, the guys, that's one talented family.
They're
over
an
there.
incredible power couple here. And I will say, and I know not necessarily a popular opinion too, a lot of times when these movies flop and don't do well, regardless, the executives who run this stuff still get a bonus. I feel like, again, shoot your shot. See if you can make that money, because the other people behind the scenes are going to, even if they're laying off other people because we had, a year that didn't do well, they're going to get their little extra bonus. They're going to divvy up their stuff to their teams. I feel like as a performer, try and see if you can get that extra money. But also we do have to live with the knowledge of this. I am replaceable. There are sound alikes. There are other people who do this kind of work. There are other people who could step into the role. But still, if you are a talented actor who brought something to the table and was part of an incredibly successful film, I don't know why you wouldn't try to negotiate. And I could see going, no, principal, I'm not going to be involved in this then.
I think you raise a really good point, because the whole idea is that you can't get something if you don't ask for it.
Yeah.
To quote Robert Meyer Burnett, you don't get what you deserve in Hollywood. You get what you negotiate.
Exactly.
And why, I like, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Take your shot. Anyway, Rob, you hear about this. What lessons do you think, if there are any, do we take away from this?
Well, I think usually, success is rewarded with a salary bump. And she wasn't a huge part of the movie. I mean, I like Proxima Midnight in Infinity War. So it's like, I mean, she wasn't part of the top of the call sheet. So how much more money would she be looking for? And that's why I thought it was like, let's say they paid her, I don't know, $25,000. Kick her
Depending
some more,
on how many days of work.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, kick her some more money. Give her $35,000. She's Carrie Coon. I mean, she is one of the great actresses. A lot of people don't know her name yet, but they will.
They will.
She's been turning in stellar work for 15 years now, and I think that's fair. And they should have. I mean, but the thing is, I don't even remember Proxima Midnight being in Endgame very much. She's in the battle, I think.
She's in the battle in the background.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
She has that great fight between, like, she basically takes on the trio of Black Widow, Okoye, and
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And with setting up one of the great lines in the movie was Okoye's, "Why has she been up there?" Talking about Scarlet Witch.
Well, in
Yeah, yeah.
Infinity War, yeah, but in Endgame.
Oh, you're right. That was an Infinity War. That was an Infinity
Yeah.
War.
In
line.
Endgame-
You're right. You're right.
Oddly enough, though, because I was looking that up, and she is the second to last to be dusted right before Thanos. She's holding the big guy. I can't remember his name of the four.
Yeah,
you know?
their Hulk, their Hulk guy.
And then she's way off in the background, and then she gets dusted, and then Thanos.
Was that Cull Obsidian? So that's, I don't know.
But I mean that raises the thing for the studio is that, well, why would we give her $10,000 more when we can get somebody else and the audience won't even know,
Right.
and it's not going to hurt our film at all? It's an interesting thing.
Well, it's you have to think about too. You do have to think about long game, end game here, right? For you as a performer, of do I want to have a relationship with this performer moving forward? Because I mean, you kind of look at some of the Scarlett Johansson stuff, right? Too, of just, I'm not coming back. Why would I come back? Why would she, right? And Scarlett Johansson has a bigger platform, so you also have to make these moves of, yeah, I could replace Carrie Coon, but also does that mean I'm not going to have a relationship with her in the future for a different Marvel project, for a Star Wars project, for a Disney project in
And it
general?
goes the other way as well, right?
Exactly. They might go,
wonder,
she asks for too much, we're going to find somebody else.
Anyway, guys, it's a really interesting topic of conversation, because you'd think that it would just be easy, but sometimes it's more complicated. What do you think about this situation? Do you think they should have just given her more money? Do you think maybe she should have just taken what she was offered? Do you think she's risking her future relationship with the studios? Do you think the studios is risking maybe not having the perfect person for a certain role later on? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Staying in the realm of the MCU for a moment, one of the big films, other than Thunderbolts, that's coming out this year is Fantastic Four. It's coming. We've been seeing the footage of it. I like what I've seen. I'm more excited for Thunderbolts, but I'm still kind of excited to see this. Now, whenever a Marvel movie comes out now, one of the big questions that all the fans ask, who's going to cameo? Who's going to show up? When are we going to meet this? How's it going to tie into this? And all that kind of stuff. Well, director of the film, Matt Shakman, is getting out ahead of it and saying, no cameos, no crossovers in this. This is a standalone universe where Robert Downey Jr. isn't there, where Chris Evans, Steve Rogers isn't there. This comes to us from Yahoo Entertainment, who write the following. The Fantastic Four First Steps isn't going to be filled with cameos or Marvel Easter eggs, director Matt Shakman has confirmed. We are our own universe, Shakman told Empire Magazine, which is wonderful and liberating. There's really no other superheroes. There's no Easter eggs. There's no running into Iron Man or whatever.
Oh,
They're it in this universe. I love the interconnected Marvel universe, but we get to do something so new and so different. Eventually, this world will meet up with other worlds, but for now, this is our little corner.
Which is what I felt they should do.
Yeah, well, listen, going back a decade, one of my apprehensions about shared cinematic universe, and I love shared cinematic universe, but one of the drawbacks is that every time you make a film in a shared cinematic universe, to some degree or another, you are creatively handcuffed. Because what you can't just do whatever you want to do in your story. Whatever you do in your story has to remain consistent and be in line with everything else that has already happened and is ongoing in that shared cinematic universe. And that also has a lot of upside, but there's also some downside. Shackman here is saying, nuh-uh, this has nothing to do with anything else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is its own pocket world. Do not expect Easter eggs. We can do whatever we want to do. They can do whatever they want in this own pocket universe because it doesn't have to be consistent with anything else that's happened in the MCU. Now, obviously, the end of the film, we're expecting incursion. We're expecting some portal. We're expecting something to happen that's going to bring the Fantastic Four into the main Marvel timeline or vice versa. But for the majority of the film, he's just coming out and telling everybody, hey guys, you might as well stop with whatever speculation you're having about, is Shang-Chi going to show up? Is Ant-Man going to show up? Is Okoye going to show up? Is Captain Marvel going to show up?
Proxima Midnight.
Is Proxima Midnight going to show up? None of them are going to be there. This is the Fantastic Four universe. They are the world's defenders. They are the world's champions here. And I'll tell you what, Rob, I think it's actually pretty smart of Matt Shackman to just get out ahead of it right now, months before the movie comes out, and just say, hey, want to talk about the movie? Don't set yourself up for disappointment. Like, focus on the stuff that is going to be there, the exciting stuff that's going to be there. What do you think about his comments? And do you think he's being truthful when he says this?
I do think he's being truthful because, you know, they've made a big point that this takes place in a different universe, different world. But that doesn't preclude, or is that the right word? That at the end of the movie, that situation could change.
Right.
I mean, obviously, the Fantastic Four, we know they're in Avengers Doomsday. So but that could take place in a different, obviously, there's different realms. But yeah, I think it's smart that they focus on the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family. I want to see a Fantastic Four movie that is not weighted down by having to fit into the MCU as it exists now, because it's too much. And I love the fact it starts out in the 60s anyway. I mean, in a timeline, it would still, if it was in the 616 universe, it would still be before the appearance of metahumans. Of course, then it would have, the timeline in 616 would be totally different.
Captain America would have been around, or at least would have already had started his legend.
Well, yes, but he was he was created by American science, you know, and then disappeared at the end of World War II. But yeah, I mean, I like that they're doing this. I think it's good. I mean, I think that this whole approach, I'm really excited for this movie. You know, I have to say that I'm very excited for both Fantastic Four and Superman, which we're both getting in July, because of sort of their fantastical retro Silver Age future technology, Max Fleischer cartoons. I'm excited for both of these films because they're different. You know, they're out of the it's silly to say that the superhero mainstream. They're coming at it from different directions, and I'm here for it. I can't wait for both movies. What a treat. It's like Barbenheimer, but different.
Chris, what do you well, I guess the two separate questions are, what do you think about Shackman saying, hey, don't expect Easter eggs, don't expect cameos, there's no other superheroes are showing up? What do you think about that philosophy in a truly self-contained pocket world? And then do you believe him when he says that? Like, could we actually go in there and get 5 or 6 big cameos? I don't know. What do you think?
I actually do believe him. And I'm with Rob, and I like this kind of point
Wait a
here
minute,
of...
you believe him?
I believe him.
I'm sure.
I don't trust or love anyone, right? But I believe him. Because also, all the Reddit kids are going to be like, we're right. Because in the trailer, you see that lovely Blackboard moment in which Reed is working on a multiverse bridge. So I think this is self-contained, this is over here, but they're going to go over to another place, obviously. And I like that they are going to have this film without the burden of 616 knowledge and rules. I like that they get to have their own their sandbox, and don't have to go, oh, well, okay, but at this point in the timeline, people would probably know about this. And okay, well, then we got to recognize that this is when this person's going to be born. And da, da, da. I'm glad we're not messing with any of that, because that's how comics work anyway. I'm just going to tell a story and it's over here, and enjoy it. Take it for what it is.
And we are getting other Marvel characters. Galactus, Silver Surfer. You're getting,
but not from the other parts of the MCU.
Which I like. So it's,
Well, and the idea of them being these kinds of rock stars then also makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Of these are the truly 4 fantastic individuals who are doing good with their powers and have become phenomenons in their world, where we see them treated like the Beatles. Of, wow, look at these 4 American heroes who came back from exploration, changed, and are using their abilities now for our good and the good of all mankind. It makes more sense when you have a small group of heroes that the world can cling on to, the same way that we all do with celebrity or hero in our own world. It makes a lot of sense to me to go, these guys are just over here, they'll come play with us sometime, or, I don't know, maybe their world gets destroyed and they have to come play with us forever.
And to your point, one of the reasons why I'm always crying and screaming that we should also have standalone movies like Robert Pattinson's Batman and stuff like that to go along with those, because I miss the days when we would get a superhero movie before the days of shared cinematic universe, where, like, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man was Spider-Man, but he was also Spider-Man because he was unique in the world, right? Christopher Reeve's Superman was completely unique in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There was none others like him. Like in today's shared cinematic universes, oh, that guy can shoot lightning out of his eyes. Cool. Last week I saw 4 other guys that could do that too, because that's the way that it is. So I like having a balance of that. So it's kind of neat that Matt Shakman is finding a way to do that within the MCU without having to have kind of like a spin-off. I think it's kind of interesting. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The director of Fantastic Four is saying, no Easter eggs, no cameos, no other superheroes showing up. This is the Fantastic Four's world. Do you believe him? If so, do you think it's a good idea? I kind of do. Let's just focus on the Fantastic Four. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Don't know if you've heard, but Minecraft has been making a little bit of money. It just opened, I believe the number was $163 million opening weekend, shattering, as we talked about yesterday, a number of big box office records. Deadline today put out an article that I thought was really interesting. I thought we would go over, which is basically, instead of just saying it broke a bunch of box office records, what records did it actually break?
Right.
And I thought this was interesting. So I thought we'd take a few minutes here and go through this and look at all the box office records that Minecraft has already broken, tied, or set. So let's go over and take a look at this. First of all, we did talk about this one yesterday. The biggest box office opening of this year so far. And we're now already in April. So as of April 7, 2025, ahead of Captain America Brave New World. The biggest opening this year was Captain America Brave New World at $88 million. It almost doubled it. Almost doubled it. Next, biggest opening, we also talked about this yesterday, ever for a movie based on a video game. Super Mario Brothers did hold the movie at 146. Now it's broken it convincingly at 163. So those are the ones that we already talked about. But then these other ones. Record opening for our Warner Brothers and Legendary co-production. The former record holder was The Dark Knight Rises. That had a $160 million opening. Minecraft now beats that opening.
Wow.
Largest Friday, Saturday, Sunday opening since Deadpool and Wolverine. That one opened at $211 million. But this is the biggest one in almost a year. Jack Black's biggest domestic opening ever, beating out Super Mario Brothers movie. Jason Momoa's biggest domestic opening ever. As a lead, he made a cameo in Batman vs. Superman, but that doesn't count. So an actual Jason Momoa movie, biggest opening of his career. Warner Brothers' largest 3-day queue in April, beating Clash of the Titans opening of $61 million, all the way back in 1921. All right. Warner Brothers' biggest Saturday of all time at $60 million, beating out the previous record holder of Batman vs. Superman that made $50 million on a Saturday. Warner Brothers' biggest Sunday of all time at $46 million, beating Barbie that had $43.7 million. The only film in box office history to open to over 50 million and see no drop Saturday. Instead, it rose by 4%. Beetlejuice dropped 0% from Friday to Saturday, but only opened to $41 million. Overall, biggest industry weekend of 2025 year to date with 205 million. So that's making it a part of a collective effort of a box office record. More records. Largest PG opening in April. Previous record holder was Super Mario Brothers. Director Jared Hess's biggest opening. Previous biggest opening was Nacho Libre at $28 million.
Oh, man.
Daniel Brooks' biggest opening. Previous was Angry Birds movie 38. Jennifer Coolidge's biggest opening. She's not in a lot of the film, so I don't know if we'll even top that. So this Minecraft, despite being a movie, again, it's not that good of a movie, but whatever, it made the kids happy, and it is pulling in money, and the movie theaters are reaping the rewards. Record after record after record after record. Now, the big question, of course, is going to be what kind of legs does it have moving forward? That's going to be interesting to see. Rob, we just went through all these records mentioned. Which is the record to you that really kind of jumps out to you the most that it kind of set?
Well, I think the biggest Saturday.
Yeah, that's a big
over
one.
50
Yeah.
million bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy talk. But you know, this film, literally an entire generation. When I say entire generation, an entire generation of kids grew up with Minecraft, and they clearly went to the theater.
Couple of generations of kids have grown up with Minecraft.
But you know, over the last 20 years, Minecraft is ubiquitous in terms of childhood because I think it appeals to both boys and girls and every demographic. You know, that kids love Minecraft, and so you had this built-in audience that was going to go, and couple that with the TikTok trends and everything, it was a perfect cultural zeitgeist moment for the subject matter and the movie itself. So, and by the way, it came at a time when movie theaters really needed this to hit. It has not been a great 2025 for the theaters. So I'm happy to see this happen. I hope it sustains. You know, they released it over spring break. Perfect time to do it. And they deserve all the money they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, you hear all these records. Is there one that stands out to you as being kind of the most notable? And do you think Minecraft can continue to have legs and maybe catch the overall box office set by contemporaries like Barbie, Super Mario Brothers?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, I'm with Rob. That Saturday information is just wild to me. And I hope that this does have legs because I do hope that it gets other people to go to the movie theater, like Rob brought up. Anytime a movie is doing well, it means other movies are going to get that little bit of backdraft to kind of coast on. And we're going to get people in the movie theaters going, oh, well, I might as well see that too. Oh, I didn't know that was out too. I should go see that as well. We got to remember, people are not as keyed into the movie world as we all are.
Yeah,
so a
it's
lot
true.
of times it is, they go to a theater and go, oh, that's out now? Oh, yeah, I guess I'll go see that, as opposed to once they finally see it on streaming in their live living rooms. I think this movie, and we talked about this yesterday, I think this movie definitely can have legs as long as these kids are making their parents take them over and over again. And I feel like they will because of the in-game references, because of all the cute little characters, because they have so much kind of meta relatability throughout it. I feel like people are going to keep going back to it. If you love the game, even if the movie is kind of cheesy or not that great, you know, as you've brought up, you're still going to have a fun time if you're the gamer who enjoys this game. Yeah. And if you are somebody who's like under 12, this movie seems to be super up everyone's alley. I've got tickets for Thursday. I'll finally see it and see how I feel about it. But I feel like people are going to probably rewatch this.
The Saturday one doesn't surprise me as much because even early adopters of the game are now in high school or college age. And so they're going to have more time, and along with the little kids, on a Saturday than a Friday. So I could see how
That's
that would
fair.
peak, hit social media, and then bounce on Saturday.
Sure. I feel like it's the content that makes me keep going, this is the one?
I know.
This is what did
The
it?
one that really jumped out at me, I mean, biggest opening year to date, great. Biggest opening for a video game movie ever, great. The one that really jumped out to me was that biggest opening ever for a Warner Brothers Legendary Pictures co-production.
Oh,
Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures have made some big,
That's
awesome
crazy.
Yeah.
movies.
Some of the best movies.
And it beats out The Dark Knight. I mean, that to me is the one that's really saying. Now, I said yesterday, I think the $1 Billion Club is definitely in reach. I'm not guaranteed it'll get there, but it's definitely in reach. Here's my thought, and I hope I'm wrong. I think Mario Brothers movie, which also wasn't great, but I liked it. It was pretty good. I think it's a little bit better of a movie than Minecraft. So I think its legs will hold out longer than, say, Minecraft's will. So I'm going to guess that Minecraft won't catch Super Mario Brothers, but it is possible.
Yeah.
It is possible,
Larger
which is
generation swath there for Mario Brothers. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Anyway, guys, either way, it's great news for the industry and it's great news for movie theaters. Guys, what do you think about this? That's a lot of records that Minecraft has already broke. Which one of those records do you think is the most impressive? How well do you think it's going to continue to perform? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to take some time here to play a little game of What's More Likely. A little bit earlier today, I jumped into our community/posts tab on our YouTube channel, and I asked our followers, hey, if you've got a What's More Likely scenario for us, go ahead and send it in. We've picked out 5 of them to do. So, Jonathan, what do we got up first?
All right. From Mike Kerbeam, Rob, what's more likely, G.I. Joe and Transformers movie happening or Transformers 1 sequel?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know, I just can't see the G.I. Joe Transformers thing happening. I don't think they can make a script that's going to be viable enough. So, but Transformers 1 obviously didn't make as much money as it could have, but it's a generally beloved film. So I'm going to go with the Transformers 2. Transformers 1
Transformers 2.
Right.
you know, Transformers 1, 2.
Chris, what about you?
I'm with that
One,
too.
too.
Yeah, I feel like even if it's not necessarily a theatrical release, some sort of series on streaming or some kind of straight to streaming movie or something is far more likely than this team up, in my opinion.
You know, it's a bit cheating, but I was thinking about this just now. What I would actually like to see is a Transformers 1 sequel where they come to Earth, but G.I. Joe are now integrated into that animated world as opposed to the movie world.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I don't think either are likely, but I'm going to side with Rob and Chris on this. Like, the thing is that the Transformers live action thing is so creatively bankrupt now. Like, Beast Wars wasn't terrible. Beast Wars wasn't terrible, but there was no reason for it to be. And it certainly performed under what they were kind of hoping. I mean, again, I've always said it was a mistake to even make that movie. They should have made Bumblebee 2. They should have gotten Travis Knight back, and they should have made Bumblebee 2. Unfortunately, Transformers 1 was a fabulous movie that did horrible at the box office. So it's not likely either, but I do agree with Chris and Rob. I think that is the more likely scenario out of the 2 unlikely scenarios. All right, what's next?
All right. From Cord Cutter Cam, Chris, what's more likely to make $1 billion, Thunderbolts or Fantastic Four?
Ooh.
Oh,
See, okay. Fantastic Four could make $1 billion if the Thunderbolts is really good. So it'd have that
one could
launching
help the
point.
other.
Yeah. But I feel like just given I'm going to go with
It's hard.
Fantastic Four.
It's hard, right?
Yeah, I feel like Thunderbolts is really set up for success and can do really well, and this story looks really interesting to me. But because of people being on the fence or not as excited about seeing a Marvel movie nowadays, I feel like if that movie is excellent, then Fantastic Four is the one that's in the better position. So I'm going to go with that.
yeah. I first of all, to be clear, I don't think either film will be $1 billion film, to be honest. But Fantastic Four is in the driver's seat here for 2 different reasons. Number one, it is the legacy IP. Whether or not people care about Fantastic Four, not really the question. Everybody knows Fantastic Four, at least knows of them, right? Far more than Thunderbolts, which is a list of B-list characters that have been sidekicks in a lot of other movies or even the villains in other movies. And now they're coming into this. So that's the one thing. But the other thing is directly to Chris's point. If Fantastic Four or Thunderbolts, if Thunderbolts is as good as we're hearing it's going to be, it's just going to help Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
It's going to build that. So I see both advantages going to Fantastic Four. So I think Thunderbolts will be the better movie, but I think Fantastic Four has the better chance of joining the $1 billion club. Rob?
I agree with that. Look, people forget we talk about like $1 billion gross. That's a very hard thing to do for any movie.
Only like 50 some odd movies have ever done it in history.
And I would say that the average gross, I mean, when Doctor Strange made like 650 million or whatever it made. The first
700.
Doctor
Oh, the first one. Yeah.
the first one. The second one, Multiverse of Madness, made more, but that was respectable. You know, Marvel movie, superhero movie, making in the high 600 millions. I think that's what we're going to see with Thunderbolts and what we're going to see. Fantastic Four will probably make more, maybe, but it has to be good.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
thing about Thunderbolts is people are already interested. It already has had a pretty great ad campaign, marketing campaign, and if it's good, people are going to turn out for it. Because I think people want Marvel movies to be good. They're just so jaded after how far Marvel fell. But you give somebody a good Marvel movie, like I always say, every IP is one movie away from being great again.
Look what happened with Deadpool and Wolverine.
100%. So, but I do think Fantastic Four has probably got a better shot of making $1 billion if it's good.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Guillermo says, John, what's more likely, HBO making a spin-off series of The Last of Us or end the series where the game series ends?
This to me isn't even close. No doubt they keep it going. They're going to keep it going. Look what happened. Look what HBO did. Speaking of HBO, what did they do with Game of Thrones? Well, we've reached the end of where George R.R. has written. Do they stop?
Yeah.
Nope.
Right.
They kept going, kept winning more Emmys, kept winning more Show of the Year awards, and kept on piling in the viewership.
Look at Hulu with Shogun.
Yeah, that's right. Shogun, we've reached the end of the book. Oh, well. Do we stop? Nope. We're going to make more. And I think when you're talking about having a guy like Craig Mazin on, I mean, that's the pivotal part here. Does Craig Mazin stay on? But if season 2 is even as good as, or 90% as good as season 1, you got to keep this story going. It's not even about spinoffs. It's about, you can spin off. You can tell a lot of stories in this world. Look at how The Walking Dead has like beaten itself to death with like, what do they have? Like 5 different shows now?
So many different ones.
5 or 6 now?
They varied
Anyway,
so much.
so not that they should follow that, but I absolutely see them, even without a Last of Us Game 3, I definitely see them going past Last of Us Game 2's story, which will be in seasons 2 and 3. 100% I think they go on. Rob, what do you think?
I think probably you're right. I want to see the story of what happened to that older Filipino biologist, the woman who said bum.
Bum.
Tell her story.
Her story probably only lasts about 10 more minutes, though.
I don't know, man.
To be honest.
I want to believe she got out of there.
Chris, what do you think?
Oh, they're absolutely going to keep doing this. I mean, think about just the games you love and the DLC content they have, right?
Yeah.
Those great downloadables. Look at what they did with episode 3 of taking the Bill and Frank story and making it wildly different than the blurb we get in the game. In the game, their relationship, while they definitely are in a relationship, is very contentious, and that is an awful moment in the game too, when you start piecing together what actually happened. They took that and turned it into one of the most beautiful episodes of television that reminds you that there are things worth fighting for in this horrible dystopian world. That's the kind of stuff I think they're going to do. I think they're going to take a little thread here and a little thread there and go, how can I pull on this? And how can I keep creating beauty in a world that is filled with so much danger, disgust, and horror? Why would you still want to fight? Why would you want to be one of the Last of Us if this is the world you live in, if there's not those little bits of hope? And I think that's what they're going to cling to.
By the way, one of our viewers, Zach, is writing, there's no way they continue past the games without a new game. No way. Okay. Again, we were talking about HBO. HBO Max. What have they done when their shows have reached the end of the source material? We just talked about it. Shogun, don't need a second book. We're going to do season 2. Game of Thrones, doesn't matter that we hit the end of the books. We're going to keep going. So when you say, and if you know the game, there's definitely way more story to tell at the end of Last of Us Season 2. So it's fine if you want to say that there's no way they do it past the games. Based on what? Because I say they will, and I can base it on a number of things. Look what they did with Shogun. Look what they did with Game of Thrones. There's definitely more story to tell after that. You have Druckmann and
Craig Mazin.
Mazin in there.
Also,
I can point to 5 or 6 different reasons why they will. I don't know that you can point to anything that even remotely suggests that they wouldn't.
Mazin supposedly has said that he wants to stop with the games, but I want to remind everybody that that means he stops.
right.
Yes.
Look at
He
Supernatural.
stops.
All right? Like,
Yep.
we saw how that went, where Kripke was like, no, this is where this ends, and the network went, But does it?
Yeah.
Or does it end for you?
And then they kept going, and the viewership kept going up.
Yeah.
I mean, so I just don't see any way that they don't do it.
If Naughty Dog also is not, if the rumor's true, they're not producing any more of the game,
Right.
this would be a great opportunity to get more licensing money.
Exactly.
Yep.
So-
100%. All right. What's next?
All right. Katwala, Rob, what's more likely, an MCU movie winning Best Picture in the next decade or an animated movie winning Best Picture in the next decade?
That's a good question. You know, I don't think that I think an MCU film is pretty handicapped in terms of winning a Best Picture Oscar.
Although
Because
they have gotten one nominated.
Yeah, Black Panther got nominated, but I just can't see that happening. I could see an animated film winning. There's a longer precedent for animated films to be nominated for Best Picture all the way back to Beauty and the Beast.
Yes, that was the first one.
So I think that there's a possibility that an animated film, especially with with animation blurring with live action, there's all kinds of crazy. So I think yes, an animated film probably before an MCU movie will win
Yeah,
Best
I'm going to agree with you. I'm also going to say an animated movie. Here's why I think it is more likely that it's an animated movie. Could an MCU film win Best Picture? Absolutely. They've already got one nominated. There's no reason they can't. But the question itself is very limiting. Marvel movies are about a very limited subject matter. Superhero movie. That's it. You've also further narrowed it down by saying MCU, not just any comic book movie.
Right.
So it's a very limited thing. Animation can be about anything. It can be about anything. It can be a drama about two old people reflecting on life. It can be an action adventure film. It can be a little romantic comedy. It can be an epic period piece. An animated film can be about just about anything. Now, I believe we're still only sitting on 3 animated films ever being nominated.
Yes.
That being Beauty and the Beast, Up, and
Toy Story 3.
This only happened 3 times, but because of those limiting factors, I think an animated film probably has the better chance of winning a Best Picture in the next decade. Chris?
Oh, absolutely, an animated film. Animation is a medium. Superheroes are a genre. You can do
That's
anything.
true.
You can do anything. I do think, and somebody else already brought this up in the chat too, I think sometimes having the best animated film, best animated picture, does negate the chances of one of these films winning, much like how best foreign film, if it's also nominated for best picture, we usually see it's going to take foreign film. We're probably not going to have it take it best picture, right? Same with the animated films that have popped up. Oh, Up wins best animated feature. Okay, it's probably not going to win best
Although
picture.
it has happened.
Sure.
Parasite.
There's obviously exceptions to this rule.
Yeah.
But the bigger thing is we also then need to announce this category and we need to talk about animation with a lot more respect. That letter from Miller and Lord, right? We need to remember that this is just a medium and not a freaking kids genre, because it's not. Go watch some other stuff, educate yourself and broaden your horizons other than like, oh, animation is Disney. No, it's not. There's so many more things out there.
Yeah, I mean, also Americans have always equated animation more to kids' fare, but that isn't true in the rest of the world.
No, it is
Exactly.
not.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can look at a movie like Grave of the Fireflies. I could,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, but something like that.
I don't
could
drink, and I want to take a shot just thinking of that movie.
I know, but that's the kind of movie that I could see winning a Best Picture.
Absolutely.
You know, at the
Yeah.
Oscars, something along those lines.
All right, what's next?
All right.
And this is the last one, right?
Yes. Don't know how to pronounce this. So I'm just going to say G3 and back to you, I believe. Is it Chris?
Yeah.
What's more likely to be made into a movie after Minecraft's success, Fortnite or GTA?
Ooh, you and I were talking about this. GTA has a plot.
Yeah.
Fortnite doesn't. That being said,
Neither
okay.
did Lego.
Yeah. There are 2 schools of thought here. Follow me on this journey. So Fortnite is going to appeal to a wider audience of young kids and everything, right? Children get to play Fortnite. Children can play Grand Theft Auto.
They're going to
but
learn a whole lot.
You're going to learn a lot about what you can do with a car. And I know a lot of people play this game real violently and rewarded for so. I think Grand Theft Auto, you can make a really ridiculous, campy, over-the-top movie. I would not want a realistic Grand Theft Auto where it's like, this is a gritty crime drama. No, I want something that is a horrible world in which you are the worst version of yourself, because that's how you should play that game. But I feel like Fortnite, because of its popularity and it's as a global phenomenon, much in the way that Minecraft was back in 2011, I feel like Fortnite is the one that would happen first and a plot would just come second.
See, here's how it's cheating in the game of what's more likely to say neither, period. But that's what I want to say, because Minecraft's success has absolutely nothing to do with Grand Theft Auto and absolutely nothing to do with Fortnite. You know why? Because Minecraft, the movie, is for children. It's for kids. Not that it can't be enjoyable for adults as well. It absolutely can. But it's for kids and children. That's why when you look at the two biggest successes, Mario Brothers, Minecraft, it's for children. You can't make a GTA for children without pissing off all the GTA fans. And guess what? A lot of kids play Fortnite. How are you going to make a movie about running around and shooting your enemies in the head? I just don't know how you make a movie out of that. That's targeted for, and it's going to have all the parents going, let's bring the kids to go see this Survivor game where it's basically everybody killing each other. I don't see how you do it. Now, I won't cheat and say neither, but although I do say Minecraft's success has zero influence over a Fortnite or a GTA. Fortnite and GTA's chances of getting made into a movie are their own chances. It'll have nothing to do with Minecraft because that's a 4-quadrant children-friendly movie. You can't do Fortnite, you can't do GTA as that. But I will agree with Chris. Out of the two, the more likely is Fortnite, because of the sheer popularity of the IP.
I'd like to see GTA as a series.
Yeah.
Like an Amazon-style series, you know.
Yes, Amazon-style, Apple TV Plus,
Twisted Metal,
HBO Max. Yes, that I can see that kind of be more late. But again, neither of them is for children, and you're comparing a big, huge success with children to. It's kind of like saying, "Hey, Toy Story did great with kids. Should we do Debbie Does Dallas next?"
Yes.
I would say yes too.
I'm just saying.
You answered so fast.
I actually was saying yes before you, like, it was like, yeah, as you said.
So again, like the game Fortnite is absolutely a lot of kids playing, but that's a different thing than now making it into a movie where the subject matter is, hey, we're going to drop you into an island with lethal weapons. Go and kill everybody. Unless little heart plushies fire out of their guns and it touches them and it sends them to the snuggle room. But then that'll just piss off all the Fortnite fans. I don't know. Anyway, but I will go with Fortnite. Rob, what about you?
I'm going to go with Fortnite too, because there's a way to do that movie that doesn't have to be lethal.
Yeah.
It could be like you're stepping into a virtual, like there's live action. You step into like a video world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
sort of
something
like
that.
why am I drawing a blank on the movie where they had to get the keys and they stepped into with the visors and all that? It was based on
Ready
the book.
Player One.
Ready Player One
Yeah.
style.
Yeah, you do it like that, or honestly, kind of like Space Jam, where it's just, here's all this IP.
By the way, I just want to, a lot of people in the live chat are not listening to me. They're like saying, John, a lot of kids play Fortnite. I know a lot of kids play Fortnite, but it's different than convincing parents. And that's how you make the money on Mario Brothers, on Minecraft. It's different to convincing parents to bring them to a live action movie where people are running around on an island killing each other.
Yeah, if it's super gory.
It's just more,
Royale.
it's one thing to make a game out of it than it is to do a movie out of it. But again, I do think Fortnite, because of the popularity, I think that is more likely. And I would go see it, by the way. I wouldn't take any of my nieces or nephews to go see it, but I would go see it.
I would go. Hey, they can't even get an American Battle Royale made for good reason.
God, guys, if you haven't seen Battle Royale, watch
It's
Battle
the greatest
Royale.
thing ever.
Good morning. It's a wonderful day for killing. Anyway, such a good movie. All right, guys. And that's today's little wrap up of what's more likely. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to our final topic here today, shall we? And that is this. You know, we don't like to talk about on this show about what's going on in the world of politics and world events and stuff like that. But sometimes it does cross over into the movie world. And this could be a pretty big thing. There is a report right now in the Hollywood Reporter citing Chinese sources who are saying that China right now is considering straight up banning American films playing in China. Now, this is all a result of the tariff and the trade wars going on right now, or brewing at the moment. Now, the reason this is a big deal is because obviously Hollywood makes most of its money in the US, in the North American market. including US, Canada, etc. Their second biggest market, though, is China. That's where they make their second most amount of money, is China. And so it would be a seriously big deal if China were to suddenly say, we are no longer going to be accepting US movies. Now, China, I did an editorial on this last year. You guys can look it up on our channel about the whole mechanisms of American movies playing in China, how much it actually does account for box office, all that kind of stuff. It's up on our channel. You can see that there. But for China to pull them, who are already limit how many American films can come in. China has a mandated limit to how many American films can come in. But for them to actually pull the plug on it would be significant. The Hollywood Reporter headline reads, China mulling ban on Hollywood film releases in response to Trump tariffs. Two widely followed Chinese public figures. One, an editor for a state media outlet, and the other, the son of the former party chief, released identical outlines on Tuesday of countermeasures Chinese authorities are said to be considering in response to Trump tariffs. They wrote this. With trade relations between Washington and Beijing spiraling, two widely followed Chinese bloggers, again, the media editor and whatnot, posted an identical set of measures that local authorities are said to be mulling in response to Trump's 54% tariffs on all Chinese goods, which the president vowed to increase to 104% if Beijing didn't back down from a pledge to match the current U.S. tariffs rate. The list mooted moves included reducing or banning the import of U.S. films, as well as increasing tariffs on U.S. agricultural goods, U.S. services, among other countermeasures. Now, all the other stuff is important. I'm not saying it's not, but we are here on this show to focus on the movie industry. So while it is absolutely a huge deal to talk about automotive, agricultural, U.S., all that stuff is important. Yes, I'm not saying it's more important than movies, or I'm not saying it's less important than movies, but on this show, we are here to talk about the movie industry. So we're going to focus on how this all can affect the industry. Now, for those of you who don't know how a tariff works, because I'm quite frankly shocked how many people I still run into that don't understand how a tariff works. A tariff is not a tax on another country. That's not what a tariff is. A tariff, I'll give you a good example. There's a photo guy who has a YouTube channel that I watch a lot. He does stuff on cameras and things like that. And he started making some of his own accessories. Now, he has them manufactured in Taiwan. Now, here's how a tariff works. He orders his stuff that he designed, has it manufactured in Taiwan. And when he brings it over into the US, let's for an argument's sake say there's a 25% tariff on stuff coming in from Taiwan. Taiwan doesn't pay the 25% tariff. The guy bringing the stuff into the country pays the tariff.
Yeah.
So that photojournalist guy who I follow, he now has to pay 25% on top of what he was already paying for it. Now, here's the other truth. He's not the one who's going to pay for that 25%. I mean, he'll pay it up front, but then he's got to pass on that cost to me and to Chris and to Rob and to anybody else who orders his stuff, because he's got to make up for that money somewhere. So now his accessories that he sells are going to have to be more expensive. The other truth about tariffs is that one can say, well, one of the good things about tariffs that it will be now, instead of getting, having to buy his accessories because he gets the stuff from Taiwan, we'll just buy the accessories from American-made companies. Okay, that's a good thing, but here's the problem. What happens in a free market when there's less competition? Do prices go down or do prices go up? Prices go up. So one of the intended, all throughout history from all countries, one of the intended kind of results of tariffs is that you create less competition for your homegrown product. And that's a good thing for all countries, including the United States and everybody else. But one of the repercussions of that is whenever, and the market has always shown this, when there is less competition that keeps prices down, prices go up. The bottom line is tariffs will raise prices on everything for everybody. That's not to say tariffs are always a bad thing. Used the right way and in moderation, tariffs can be good for everybody, But sometimes when things get extreme, it can be bad. Now, that is why China and other countries are kind of freaking out, and why markets in the United States are freaking out as well. And it's pushed China now to the point that they're thinking about, well, then we're going to do even worse. And one of the things they're talking about is banning American movies at all from coming into the country, because tariffs are a real big deal for everybody. US, UK, China, everybody. It's a big deal. So they're looking at doing something extreme to the movie industry, like banning all American films coming in. So the big question becomes, how big of a blow would that be to the Hollywood movie industry, to American movie industry, to American filmmakers, to American crews, to American writers, to American creators, to American craftsmen, to American tradespeople, who work in the movie industry? How big of a blow would it be? Rob, I think you're better positioned to answer that question a little bit better than me. From my perspective, it's not a one-punch death blow.
No.
It's not it's not like, well, that completely kills the industry. I don't think it's that serious. But in a movie industry right now that is still dealing with the repercussions of COVID, and absolutely still dealing with the repercussions of the dual strikes, and dealing with, a slow start to 2025, although it does look like the box office is going to pick up in the second part of the year, it would be maybe not a killing blow. Rob, it looks to me like it would be a really serious blow. That auxiliary money becomes more and more important. Anyway, you look at this situation. How big of a deal do you think it would actually be to the movie industry should China say, no American films can come here?
Well, the thing is, the movies that go to China, first of all, China has to allow American movies in, and they only have a certain amount of American movies they let in the first place. But a lot of the movies that they let in are our big global franchises. Your Marvel movies, the movies that cost the most amount of money, that are the movies that Hollywood relies on to save itself, and those, in our thumbnail, we had Avatar and Avengers up there. If a movie like Avatar and Avengers, those films are hugely popular in Asia. They've not let Marvel movies into China before. So,
yeah, there have been some they didn't let in.
But the Avengers movies, they want those to go to China because there's a huge market. And while we get back a lot less money from China than other countries, it's still important. I don't necessarily think it's a death blow, but it's certainly of concern to a movie like Avatar, which they're expecting a $3 million gross. Mm-hmm. Without China, that's a big chunk of change they're going to lose, that they're expecting, that they need.
That's $300 million less dollars now that the studio can put into other productions and other movies and other projects.
And other Avatar sequels.
It's a time when cutting the margins is not a safe.
No, it's and look, we are a global, rightly or wrongly, we're a global marketplace now. We can travel around the world so quickly. Our information technology, we're a keystroke away from dealing with world markets. And the thing about movies is, rightly or wrongly, movies are one of America's great exports to the world, and it look, if it's going to affect our business, it's always a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing. I think that we need these giant engines of Hollywood, these giant IPs that travel all around the world. Language barriers, cultural barriers. The Avengers aren't just good guys, good girls that save the world. They're also ambassadors of fun for everyone. The whole planet likes Avengers movies. And China has a big part of the population of human beings on this earth.
They do. Yes, they do.
So
Yeah.
we want the Chinese markets open to get these large tentpole properties. Will we survive if they don't? Sure. But it's just something else that makes Hollywood less healthy.
Yeah.
So, especially with these big, when Marvel is spending big on Avengers and Doomsday and Secret Wars, and there is a new Avatar movie coming out. They have more Avatar movies to make. They certainly don't want to lose a huge market for their new upcoming Avatar movie.
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody in the live chat ask, if China does this, could other countries do something like this as well? I don't think the danger is there that a lot of other countries would do this. And the reason I don't think other countries like, say, Canada or France or the UK or whatever would do that is because China has spent a lot of years trying to more and more isolate their movie industry. Like they're more and more to the point that I think they're reporting fake box office numbers, but that's another issue for another time.
Yeah, too.
They have been trying to create their own ecosystem of movies and already limiting American films. The theater industry in most of the other world is very dependent on Hollywood films for their theatrical industry to live. So that's why I think even if China does this, as bad as it would be, I don't personally think, and I could be wrong, I don't think that would lead to other countries doing it as well, because they depend on North American movies more than, say, China relies on North American movies. I know, Chris, you seeing this, if China were to actually ban US films, how big or not so big of a deal do you think that could be to the industry as a whole?
I think it would be a big deal in that Rob already brought this up, these certain big tentpole things. You look at the Fast and the Furious franchise, which does so much better overseas than it does over here. And that is a huge feather in the cap of Universal. It is their highest grossing franchise, but it's most likely due to the success it does over in China and everything. When we don't have that money, like you guys already brought up, then it's less money to put in other places.
Yeah.
It's less money to make some risky films, some indie darlings, some more innovative, fun, interesting, different things that you, dear moviegoers, are always saying you want, but don't necessarily show up for. So we're going to lose all that kind of stuff. I do want to just also let everyone know I've had CNN and NPR in the background the whole time here too to follow updates. Trump will now impose at least a 104% tariff on China by tomorrow if they don't reach a good place in negotiations. So they're going to add an additional 84% on tariffs that he's already proposed over there. So that is the deadline for that, supposedly is midnight. So if you are somebody who is keeping abreast of all of this and watching the stock market and everything, just know that that is a new little fold in these negotiations. Supposedly the administration is willing to speak to countries individually to come up with deals per each country. But they're basically saying that this is kind of a reciprocal tariff because of how China has responded to them.
So guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, obviously, I think most of the people watching this video, not all, but most, don't go to see their movies in China. But talking about China possibly looking at banning US films altogether, it's the second biggest market for Hollywood to make its money from, outside of the North American office. It will have an impact. I don't think a death blow. I don't think it would spread to other countries, but it would be a serious blow to the Hollywood infrastructure right now that is still dealing with a lot of other problems all at the same time. Can it be avoided? Should it be avoided? Whatever you guys think about this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Somebody just said in the live chat, tariff Smurfs.
I was just going to say.
Now you put that in the Smurfs movie, I might be interested to see how they do that. Anyway, guys, with that all down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is obviously taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank the sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Hungryroot. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Hungryroot. Okay, so I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. Spring hits and suddenly life goes from like 0 to 100. Busy season is officially in full swing over here. And honestly, who's got time to go grocery shopping? That's where Hungryroot comes in. See, because Hungryroot is like having your own personal shopper. I told them my goals and they started curating groceries for me that actually fit my life. Be it smoothies, snacks, salad kits, even ready to eat meals. All clean ingredients, no artificial junk. This week, I got the grilled turkey tenderloin with pesto grilled veggies and it was amazing. And I got my usual protein-packed snacks. It's like they're learning my taste better than I even know myself. And the best part is, I don't have to waste time driving to the grocery store and wandering the aisles. That's time I can spend doing literally absolutely anything else. Guys, I love Hungryroot. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Campea and use the code Campea. That's hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Campea, code Campea. And thank you to our friends at Hungryroot for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
David says, I had a thought last night since Joaquin Phoenix won a Razzie for Worst On-Screen Combo in Joker 2, but also won an Oscar for Joker 1. Would this make him the first actor to win both a Razzie and Oscar for playing the same character? I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean,
My guess would be yes. I mean, he's not the first actor to win an Oscar and a Razzie. I think Halle Berry was the first person to do that. And I think there have been one or two others since then. But first one to do it for playing the same character. I don't know the answer to that, but my guess would be yes. That's a really interesting thing. My guess would be yes.
Well, let's see. I don't know. Eddie Redmayne earned a Best Actor Oscar. Shay was up for Golden. No. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. What's next?
All right. Supreme Leader, hey, John and crew, just want to thank you all for what you do. My mom passed away last week.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about that.
Very sorry to hear that. One of our favorite things to do every day when I got home from work was eat lunch and watch your show. Thanks for giving us this time. We'll now watch and think of her.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And, you know, again, I always talk about how movies are these great shared experiences, and talking about movies is one of the great shared experiences. I know my mom and I would talk a lot about movies. You guys know I just recently lost my mom. I still haven't dealt with it. I'll be straight up honest with you guys, being totally vulnerable here. I haven't dealt with it yet. So I'm still kind of in a bit of a denial phase, I think. But, you know, one of the things my mom and I would often talk, we loved movies. My mom gave me my love for movies. I'm sure she gave you yours as well. And so it's always great that we have that. And that's one of the great reasons why I think movies and storytelling is great for all of us. All right. What's next?
Mark Choi says, hey guys, was glad Paramount released Tom's speech for McHugh from CinemaCon. The official trailer yesterday was great. John, did you catch your new favorite, Mr. Milicic from Severance, asking Tom, what exactly is your plan? Didn't hear you mention it.
I think we did mention that when we were in Vegas.
In Vegas.
Yeah, when he comes up on screen in that, what exactly is your plan? We're like, yeah, Mr. Milchick. This guy's going to be a star. I think he is I like everybody in Severance, but for whatever reason, this dude who plays Milchick, I think he's going to be a big star. Yeah, listen, that Tom Cruise speech was a fabulous speech. It was really good. It number one, just focused on the magic of movies, but mostly just really highlighting his stuff about Christopher McQuarrie, a guy who I've been a big fan of for a long time, but he even mentioned some things in that speech that I didn't even know about Christopher McQuarrie. And man, this dude's got, if there was a Hollywood Hall of Fame, man, he deserves to be in it.
It's funny how fast people, or I could be a fan of someone just from watching a series or like a movie, like immediately, like that guy we're talking about,
McQuarrie.
And I liked Wyatt Russell so much in Monarch that every time I see him in anything, I'll be like, yes. Same with the guy. Hopefully we see the guy who played David and Romulus.
Yes, which again we saw him. Yeah. He's going to be in the Long Walk.
Yeah. I didn't see that. I didn't go to Lionsgate, but he's in that.
You and Rob Riley.
I would have cheered my ass off if I was there. Yeah, I really like that kid.
It looks really good. All right, what's next?
We got, and it does look like it's Joaquin Phoenix is the only one.
All right.
Australian Jedi says, regarding WB selling Looney Tunes, the IP does actually make some money through licensing characters to Village Roadshow, the Australian film studio, not the bankrupt U.S. production company they part-owned and licensed their name to. For their popular movie world theme parks in Australia and Europe, think Disney parks, but with MGM, WB, and DC. I mean, Six Flags uses them too in America. If WBD does sell, I suspect VR would be a potential buyer, not just for their parks, but as a new inroad for U.S. film TV productions. Thoughts?
All right. Having revenue does not mean you have profits. Revenue does not equal profitability. Revenue minus expenses and minus liabilities is what your bottom line is. It's fine if I sell, let's say I was the good folks over at Mando. It's great if I sell this stick of Mando for $5. But if it costs me $6 to do the selling, then it's not making me any money. Between rights fees, residuals, production agreements, all that kind of stuff, the liabilities that Looney Tunes represents to Warner Brothers outweighs any revenue they have coming in. Otherwise, believe me, one of the things you can always trust is the greed of corporations. That includes movie studios. Always trust in their greed. If something makes them a hot penny, they will protect it as much as they can. At the end of the day, it's fine if it got a few small trickling streams of revenue. If it doesn't equal to what it literally costs them just to hold on to the IP, then it's not a profitable thing. It doesn't make them any money. And that's been the problem. Because if it did make them money, corporations are whores, man. They'll do anything to hold on to it if it makes them anything. The moment it's not making them money, the moment it costs them more to keep it than to just give it away or to sell it, and that's when you'll see them try to part ways with it, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Pop Tart says, not to add more shows onto your watch list, but Dope Thief on Apple TV is awesome.
I've heard that's great. Brian Tyree Henry is in that, and everybody says it's great.
I'm only 2 episodes in and absolutely loving it. Also, thanks for the CinemaCon coverage. It was great.
Oh, thank you for that. We love covering CinemaCon. Yeah, that's another. Dope Thief is another one. That and Adolescence. Those are the two that are on my list right now that I really got to get around to watch. Once I get caught up in the stuff that I'm currently watching, I'll try to loop back around to those things. But like, man, I'm trying to get caught up on The Old Man, which has been amazing. I'm so sad I'm so late to the party on The Old Man. Obviously trying to keep up with Daredevil. The studio is out right now. What else am I watching right now? I can't. The Pit finally, I think, just ended. No, Pit's got one more episode.
Man, I read the description to Adolescence because I was giving over like series, and I was like, man, that sucks. That sucks. I don't think I want to watch it. Just
but everybody tells me it's amazing.
Yeah,
everybody says it's amazing.
Subject
so I'm gonna have
matter
to check
is
it out.
kind of tough, I think.
All right, what's next?
Pacific McRim says, hey, Campea Crew, first tip in a while. Thanks for another great CinemaCon. Thoughts on a show around RuneScape? Movie doesn't feel like the best fit. Obviously, the script matters, but it's an IP that hasn't been used and could get a decent audience for TV.
I don't think you can get an audience for TV. I really don't. I like RuneScape is one of these things that has this passion. It's kind of like Firefly, this passionate but small
I've never heard of it.
community behind
until
it.
now.
And so I don't think it's something that would really do well, to be honest with you. All right, what's
All
next?
right, Ian says, I just watched the Joe Rogan interview with the founder CEO of Colossal Biosciences. I don't usually watch Rogan, but hearing him explain how they actually made the dire wolves and what they discovered in the fossilized wolf DNA was amazing. Did you hear
Ann and I
about
were
that?
just talking about this live last night. Dire wolves, for the first time in 13,000 years,
Yeah,
are
10,
on
yeah.
the earth again.
What?
Yeah, they Jurassic Parked it.
Yeah.
They took from fossils of old dire wolves, combined it and genetically engineered it with their closest living relatives, the gray wolves, edited the DNA to match the dire wolves, and they have just bred their first litter of 3 dire wolf puppies.
They're working on
And now they're
the
working
woolly
on woolly
mammoth.
mammoths.
Yeah.
I dare y'all to do it with me when I'm gone.
Yeah, we're gonna.
They
clone
are-
them.
Yeah.
They are literally
Yeah, with a mammoth, baby.
Jurassic Parking this shit.
They should
now.
do it with dinosaurs. I don't see any issue with it.
Yeah. But do it on an island far away from anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause
but invite people.
They're doing it in Texas.
A dire wolf.
Three dire wolves in the world right now.
There you go.
Oh, man. Game of Thrones needs
And
to
I
come
think
back.
one of them is named Khaleesi.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Think one of so the whole Game of Thrones.
These are like the
dire
huge-
wolves are in the world again. Everybody.
These are like the huge wolves, right? The huge ones.
They're
Well, they're
massive.
not as big. Direwolves were never as big as they are in Game of Thrones. They use the name, but they are larger than normal.
But
wolves.
listen, if you've ever seen for like to scale, an actual gray wolf,
they're big.
they're huge.
I had one.
Dire wolves are 35% larger, not 300% larger, but 35% larger than gray wolves. So these are big. These are big things.
They're big uns. And the males are going to be bigger than the
I don't know that
females.
you're going to be slapping a saddle on them
No.
like the orcs of Mordor and
No.
riding them into battle, but they're pretty big.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Ian
Oh my
McAllister says, I think goes on, but have you seen the picture of them as puppies on the Iron Throne? That was the real throne. In the interview, he said Peter Jackson and George R.R. Martin invest in the company, and he recently bought the throne from the show and let them take the pick.
Oh, I didn't see the pictures of them on the throne. I
That's
will
cool.
say this though, they're adorable.
They
Yeah.
are adorable.
They're adorable.
I had a different picture in my head.
Yep. All right, what's next?
Matan says, I wish The Last of Us would stick to their guns, pun not intended, and kept Abby muscular in the show, even if not as muscular as the game. Giving Abby non-muscular arms in the show feels like giving in to the haters.
I
I
think
don't
they
think
just
it
went out and got the
matters.
best. I don't think it's that important to the story, and they just went out and got a great actress to play
Right.
the role. I like listen, her physical appearance in the game is definitely notable. But when it actually comes to the story, it's never brought up. It's never really mentioned much in the
It's not a
story. It's
part-
not
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a part of the character per se. So I really don't you don't sacrifice on the best actress just so you can get somebody with that physique. Like if you're getting somebody to play a live action Incredible Hulk and you're not CGIing it, well, that becomes more important. If you're trying to get somebody to play Kratos, the god of war, that becomes a little bit more important. But it was never an important story element to the character in the game, so it's really not that important. They went out and got themselves an amazing ass actress, and that's going to ultimately be more important to the show than anything else. All right, what's next?
Casey Mack says, hey, John and company, last night I saw a film that wasn't even on my radar, Freaky Tales. I want to see this. This is a movie I went into knowing nothing about and really blew my mind. I actually consider calling it best movie of the year so far. See it if you get a chance.
Which one is Freaky Tales?
Yeah, it is.
With Pedro Pascal? Is
yeah.
that the-
Oh, that one. Yeah, I saw a trailer for that and I thought, this looks weird.
Right.
Oh, wait, he already saw.
Ben Mendelsohn's in it as well.
Yeah. I saw the trailer for that. Anna and I watched the trailer for this. I'm like, well, this looks great. I'll be honest with you, it went completely off my radar. I didn't even know it was remotely close to coming out.
April 4th, it released.
It came, I didn't even realize that because I just recently saw the trailer for
Yeah,
it.
it's the one that takes place in Oakland, California in the 80s.
All right. Walter Lopez in the live chat is saying it's amazing. It's 9 out of 10 for
cool,
them.
man.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Lionsgate as well.
You have to
So
check it out.
they saved all the good stuff
They're on
this
the
year.
up and up.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
Why So Serious says Disney Plus just dropped one of the most impressive documentary films about making a movie I've seen in a while for a Goofy movie. We were just talking about this Goofy movie yesterday. It's called Not Just a Goof. It's definitely something that all film fans should see, especially for a great cult classic film.
Yeah, like I said, my wife is a huge fan of the Goofy movie. I've never understood the appeal. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate it. I'm not hating on the movie. I saw it. I never saw the appeal. I'm not really interested in it myself, but once I tell my wife about it, I'm definitely sure she's going to set the evening aside to sit down and watch it for sure. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, hello, John. I'm excited for Death Stranding film as well as the sequel to the game. My question to you is, should this be a TV series to flesh out the story, or will they add parts of Death Stranding 2 to the film?
No idea. But listen, you don't need to make it a series. We talked about this the other day. If you're a good storyteller, you can flesh it out in the span of a movie. You can. You look at the great films and all that kind of stuff. If they were existing IP before they were made films, like we often just go back and use Star Wars as a baseline, right? Like if you knew the tale of Star Wars before the movie ever came out, this is obviously a theoretical scenario. People would have said upon hearing the news that a Star Wars movie is coming out, they would have said, there's no way you could do that in one movie. You've got to set up the entire history of the Galactic Empire, how it came out of the Republic. You got to set the story, like understanding who Obi-Wan Kenobi is and Darth Vader. We don't like who is this emperor they keep referring to? Grand Moff Tarkin, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, R2D2, C3PO. You can't possibly do that in one movie. They did it. And a good storyteller would be able to do that as well. Now, it depends on what they want to focus on and what they want to put their attention on. It means you got to make some creative choices, prioritize what's the most important elements of these stories and what are the less important elements of the stories. But you can absolutely do it as a film. And I'd be excited to see it as a film. Now, I don't know anything about the second game, so I couldn't tell you whether they should incorporate that in. My guess is they'll probably focus it more around the original game. All right, what's next?
Henry Jones Jr. says, hi, John. I'm very surprised you guys haven't discussed the David Fincher is directing a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel spinoff of Brad Pitt starring and Tarantino writing the script. What are your thoughts?
Don't really care. For reasons I won't discuss right now, I have my doubts that that's actually going to happen.
Netflix
Nobody's saying John Campea says that movie's not actually getting made. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I have my doubts that it'll actually look, if it actually comes to green light and it actually goes into production and all that kind of stuff, we'll definitely talk about it. But I don't actually think this movie's going to happen. So I'm not really interested in talking about it. Once it becomes more tangibilized, making up words, once it becomes like more real, we'll probably definitely talk about it. Other than that, don't really care. All right, what's next?
We got Jess Fire. Hey, John, just saw Minecraft and thought it was terrible but entertaining. Interesting. Which films, this sounds right up Ray's alley. Which films do you find terrible but entertaining? Hope for good result tonight versus Leeds United up the Borough and bring on the filthy. Love you, Ray. Aura.
If I find a film entertaining, then that means I found it good, because movies are experiential events. And if your experience is being entertained, that by definition to me makes it a good movie. I was not entertained by Minecraft. There were definitely moments that were entertaining to me. It has its upsides. For me, the amount of time I spent covering my face like this, and that I found a lot of it kind of lame, outweighed the parts that were entertaining to me. So overall, for me, the movie wasn't that entertaining. But that was for me. And even I will say there were certain times in that movie that I was very entertained. But, overall, I just think it was not a very good movie.
You know what I find terrible and entertaining as well?
What's that?
There's this show called WoW on a local channel. Sometimes it's at 2 a.m. It's Women of Wrestling. It is the worst wrestling show ever, but it's entertaining. I have no idea how to put it.
I've never even heard of this.
Yeah. Every now and then I'll flip through the channels. I'm like, wrestling's on. And then it's like it's a women's wrestling federation or whatever.
Like an all women's wrestling.
Yeah. It's almost similar to Glow.
Right.
But it's somewhere in LA. They tape it in LA somewhere. And it's just terrible.
Never heard of it. All right. What's next?
All right. Scotty McSpock says, hi, Robin, all the Trekkie fans out there. Universal Studios Star Trek Fan Fest night starts April 25th. Also on that weekend is the Hollywood Jane Review featuring a Star Trek themed show in Pasadena. See you all there.
Yeah. The only guy here that would really care about that isn't actually in the room anymore.
I didn't know. What are the Fan Fest
But
nights
wait,
at
Universal, like Universal, the parks?
Yeah, Fan Fest nights.
I mean, I'm a Star Trek fan. I might go down. I love going to Universal Park,
Cool.
but I might check that out. But yeah, unfortunately, the guy who would really care about that is not here at the moment. I bet you Scott Mance will be there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For sure. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, what would it take for an adult-oriented animated film, adult in thematic story sense, not raunchy comedies made for teenagers, to begin succeeding in the U.S.?
Make something good. I mean, it's no more and no less complicated than that. You make something that's really, really good, it will find an audience. And there's also has to be a little bit of luck in it, but you gotta start with writing something really exceptional. If you do that, you give yourself a good chance. Look, and not everything that's really good finds success. There's not everything that's good in live action finds success, but that's your best chance. Like if you make something that's truly worth it and truly hits the mark, then it has a really good chance of it. All right, what's next?
Mega Red says, Thunderbolts was delayed before filming started. During the writer's strike, how much can the director or Marvel work on it? Obviously action, but how much story work can be done? Can they rework story beats and then give the ideas to the writers post-strike?
If you're not on strike, you can do whatever you want. Right? If you're the director and you're not a member of the Writers Guild, because remember, the Directors Guild wasn't on strike. The Directors Guild made a deal with Hollywood. And so they were able to avoid strikes. So the director can continue to work on a film. And as long as he's not a member of the WGA, because a lot of directors are also members of the Writers Guild of America. And in that case, like for instance, Ryan Reynolds, I believe, is a member of the WGA. So while the strike was going on, he couldn't write a single word for the Deadpool movie. But if the director of Thunderbolts is not, he could continue working on it. And then once the writers came back, like show the writers everything they had done, say, now do this and this. I mean, it's just, there's ways around a lot of things. But again, as long as you're not a part of the union that was on strike, you can still do work on stuff. All right, what's next?
Okay, I think Bry Guy's giving us a recommendation here. It's called The Breadwinner, 2017 animated war drama film produced by Angelina Jolie.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Plot in 2001, Afghanistan is under control of the Taliban. When her father is captured, a determined young girl disguises herself as a boy in order to provide for her family. I remember that too.
Yeah, I did too.
What was Why am I freezing on the name of the Barbra Streisand classic movie? Yentl?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a little Yentl meets the Kite Runner.
Right.
By the way, Kite Runner's another great one. You should check out there. So yeah, a little bit of a mix of that in there too. All right, what's next?
We got Andrew says, "Hey John and crew, have you heard about the rumored Meryl Streep Narnia casting?" Oh, we talked about that yesterday. I feel like you sent this in. We answered that.
Yeah,
James-
I don't know if it was the same person. Might be a different person. I don't believe the rumor, but if they do have Meryl Streep do the voice, okay. But here's the thing. Anybody who has a problem with it, I would say, okay, can you please point me to other magical immortal lions and what their voices actually sound like in real life? Oh, there are none, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not the way I would go with it, but if they do go with Meryl Streep doing the voice, that's perfectly fine too. It's a fictitious magical lion that is not real. So, all right, what's next?
James UK says, "Hi, I want to express my gratitude to you, John Ray, Dr. Campea, Rob, and Cody for the amazing CinemaCon 2025 presentations. Recap and report. There are so many great movies to look forward to this year and beyond. Cannot wait for Superman, Ballerina, and Mission Impossible."
Listen, one of the great things I got to say about going to CinemaCon is that it really is, it gets your engine rev for the whole year because you realize how many good looking films are coming out this year. And again, crazy how good Amazon's present. Amazon was their first year at CinemaCon this year, and man, they put on a great presentation with a lot of really interesting movies coming out. Now, it's not coming out in 2025, but right at the top of that list is Project Hail Mary. God, I can't wait for that. But that Chris Hemsworth one, Crime 101, looks really good. What was that one called again? So God So?
Oh, yeah.
No, something God something.
Yeah. He is God, or God is he. Oh, I don't know.
Is God is.
Yeah, or
I
something
think
like
that was, anyway, that looked amazing.
I think all the headliners at this for every studio at this CinemaCon, I am looking forward to. Like, we got Running Man for Paramount. I'm looking forward to that movie, and then Project Hail Mary, Amazon. What was the headliner for all of them? There's always been a year where like one headliner just didn't interest me. This is the first year that every studio
had at least one that really had us excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
And many of them had multiple films coming out this year that we're really excited about. All right, what's next?
Okay, we're going to hear from our channel members now. Amin says, "Thanks for the great CinemaCon coverage. The format you guys did with the camera and everything honestly felt like we were part of the table, sitting around just talking movies. Would love to hear Cody talk movies more with you guys, either remotely or on the show or through a podcast. Anyway, stay filthy."
Yeah, unfortunately, Cody lives in Indiana. So then we generally don't like to bring in guests remotely. It's from a technical point of view, it's just a nightmare, and there's like the little delays, and then things always go wrong and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, while we were in Las Vegas, me and Rob and Cody did have a little quick discussion about maybe revitalizing our old Best Movie, Worst Movie podcast, which we might do. We'll see. But it was great having Cody there.
Oh, yeah, Cody is just an impressive kid, man. Like,
Yeah.
he could speak. And if you ever walk around Vegas with an Olympic swimmer, it's different a little bit. I mean...
An Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah, Olympic gold medalist swimmer. It's different a little bit. There's a lot more female eyes looking towards your way. I know they were for Cody, but still, it's just a weird...
You might have been getting some of it. Might
No
have been
way.
you.
That's going, why is he hanging out
Maybe
with
you
that
got
guy?
some
A lot
collateral.
of, they might have said, "Hey, that's the guy from Spider-Man: No Way Home."
Yeah, or that's the guy's bodyguard or
You
something.
got some collateral looks, you know.
All right, what's next?
Joel, did I get you?
That was like hand-me-down looks.
Joel Checky says, "I read Project Hail Mary last year and loved it. I was already looking forward to the film, but after your coverage from CinemaCon, it's top 3 anticipated for next year. This, Odyssey, Spielberg, Doomsday, it's shaping up awesome."
I'll tell you what. It might have jumped to top of my list.
It absolutely has for me.
Like, I mean, right now, Doomsday is my top of my list for 2026. But that presentation for Project Hail Mary, all the footage they showed us, it is challenging Avengers Doomsday as my number one most anticipated movie of the year next year. Now, that might change once we start seeing some footage
Right.
for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and once we find out whatever it is Steven Spielberg is doing. But right now, it's kind of between Project Hail Mary and Avengers Doomsday.
I mean, I completely forgot Ryan Gosling was playing the main role.
Right.
And I can't think of anyone else after seeing that footage to play that role. Is this Amazon MGM's first big theater release, or
No, they've had other theatrical releases.
Okay.
One of my favorite one they've ever put out is The Big Sick with Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh,
that's my
that was
favorite
them?
movie they've ever
Oh,
put out.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, what's next?
Yenny Moore says, "Hey, John and Crew. So speaking of potential future live-action Disney films, I just watched recently the notorious, underappreciated and underlooked Disney animated film from 2002, Treasure Planet,
I think it's an overrated film
for the
but
first time. Ooh, and wow, truly surprised me in the best ways. What a gem! Highly recommend if you haven't seen it. Really believe this could a live-action adaptation if they give it a try."
I know so many people that love that movie. Love that movie. I don't know why. It's a perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's bad. It's a nice little film. I honestly never found it all that memorable or all that great, to be honest with you. So I'm in the minority when it comes to my friends, but I just don't see it being a great live action adaptation. I don't think many people would care about it. Now, I could be wrong about that. 100% I could be. But again, a lot of people I know loved it. I just have never seen the appeal of it that much. That's just me. All right, what's next?
Okay, Alan says, "Happy Tuesday, Campea Crew. I talked to one of my friends who took their kids to see Minecraft. She told me that she didn't love it, but their kids loved it. Warms my heart that it appears most kids and fans of Minecraft love the movie."
Yeah, again, I put it very much in the same boat as the Super Mario Brothers movie. I don't think the Super Mario Brothers movie was great either, but it definitely appealed to kids, man. I mean, there's no getting around that. I didn't think Minecraft was all that good, but I was in a packed theater, man, and the kids were absolutely responding to it. So it's doing what they were targeting it to do.
Yeah, it's the IP love. I think you could have done anything with the movie. I think the kids would have loved it anyway.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
one
I
of
think you
those-
really could have done it.
Yeah.
I also think you could have made a better movie.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
Because
the
again, I look at
for
Lego.
adults, right? For
I
the
look at
adults.
Lego. Like Lego made a good movie. Like they made a legitimately good movie.
Yeah.
And I wish Hollywood would understand that you can both really appeal to kids and give the kids a good time and put in the extra effort to also make it a solid film in and of itself.
And they had all the pieces. They have all the pieces there. They got the Momoa.
Yeah.
They got Jack Black.
Well, I mean,
It's not like they didn't have it. Yeah.
Honestly, the actors are irrelevant.
Right. But
You write a better movie. Like
Right.
you could have had all the fun in there and had a good movie. But whatever, hey, it's working and it's setting box office records and the movie theaters are loving it. So yeah, there you go. All right, what's next?
Jai says, "I'm stunned by the Beatles' release strategy. About 10 years ago, I asked if Marvel or WB would ever do a simultaneous release of their movies like they do with the comics. Although he liked the idea creatively, Schnepp did say it was too impractical and too prohibitive for movies, even small-scale ones. I realized he was right, so doing that for the Beatles is bold. Hope it pays off."
For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, at CinemaCon, they announced the 4 Beatles movies, a movie about the Beatles, but one that focuses on Ringo, one that focuses on Paul, one that focuses on George, and one that focuses on John. But they're releasing them all at the same time. The studio called it the first bingeable movie series. I don't think this strategy is going to work, but big kudos, because which studio was it? Was it Universal? I can't remember.
I can't remember the release.
Look up, see
on
which
it.
studio it is. But I don't think the strategy is going to work. But I give them, it's Sony.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
I give them huge props for trying something that hasn't been done before. Huge props for trying something that hasn't been done before. Now, look, again, I sit back and I look at this and I'm like, I don't think this is going to work, but it could. And if it does work, oh my God, they're going to look like geniuses.
And imagine what happens after that if it works. What
You're going
kind
to see
of-
other studios taking swings at this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, I mean, again, I'm excited that they're doing it. And again, I'm saying this is somebody who's saying, I don't think it's going to work. And I don't even care all that much about a Beatles movie, to be honest with you. But I'm fascinated to see, and I hope it works for them. I don't think it will, but I hope it does, because this is a big swing, man. And in an industry where us as fans are always asking the studios to take risks and take big swings, this is a big fucking swing. And I'm gonna cheer for them.
I can't wait to see Hawkeye's perspective during the Doomsday when they release.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I can't wait to see Hawkeye's perspective on Doomsday when the Avengers start doing these release schedules with the perspective of every Avenger.
Every character that's not in the movie.
Oh yeah.
All right, what's
Not
next?
in the movie.
Okay, we got a few more. Joe Howland says, "Hey John, hope you're having a great day. I was wondering if you've seen the trailer for Predator: Killer of Killers on Hulu. I almost said HBO. June 6th. Looks awesome."
Nah. Here's the thing. A number of months ago, there was a Terminator kind of anime thing that came out, and everybody said, a bunch of people told me how great it was. I'm like, oh, I'm going to check it out. And then I watched it, and I'm like, this isn't that great. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really going to be interested in this one unless I hear from a whole bunch of people that tell me they think it's awesome. That doesn't always work out for me, but if a whole bunch of people watch the show and tell me it's awesome, I'll probably check it out. But I haven't even watched the trailer, to be honest with you, because the like I said, the Terminator one kind of soured me a little bit. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Sadul who says more likely to make overall in the U.S. Wicked 2 or Zootopia?
Zootopia
It's
2.
Zootopia, 100%.
Zootopia 2 is an absolute guaranteed billion-dollar film. Wicked 2 has a very good chance of being a billion-dollar film. But Zootopia, as far as I'm concerned, is a lock guarantee. So I'm going to say Zootopia 2. Now, which one will be the better movie? Probably Wicked 2. But I think the one that's going to make more money is Zootopia 2. All right,
And then the
last one.
Yeah, from Joe. It's just asking, have you heard anything more about the Voltron movie with Henry Cavill?
Nothing. I was kind of expecting them to tell us some stuff and
Yep.
talk about it
Yep.
at CinemaCon. Now, they did mention it at CinemaCon, but that was it. They were already shooting the film. I was really kind of hoping they were going to show us some footage, but they didn't really touch on it at all. Look, but at this point, there's nothing to tell.
Yeah.
We know that they got the cast. They're shooting the movie. So until it's time for them to start releasing production stills or whatever, we're in that area, that window right now where there's literally nothing for them to tell us.
Yeah,
So we'll just have to wait and see.
It just told me the Lions aren't ready to show yet, because I think that's the big deal with this. How will the Lions look? Because Henry Cavill always looks great, right? So
Yeah. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. A big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Hey, don't forget to come on back and join us again tomorrow when Rob and Chris and all of us will still be here again. We're already working on a couple of stories for tomorrow. We hope you guys will come and join us for that. So, for Ray Ora,
see you guys tomorrow.
Jonathan Voico,
See you guys.
again, the No Longer in the Room, Robert Meyer Burnett, Chris Carr, my name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.